We're here to make a new type of news.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Making news just for you. It's July 7th here in Seoul. I'm Sin, and this is News Generation, where we make the news at Arirang's very own open studio. Every morning, we'll discuss the top issues and latest current affairs affecting people in their 20s and 30s. Joining me in the studio is Kim Seong.
Good morning, Yan.
And Brooke Prince.
Hello, nice to be here.
Nice to have you back again. Now, both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. As usual, let's start with our news feed, which covers different hashtags and news items that have been trending on social media over the past 24 hours. Our first story. Did you know we've seen the hottest day on Earth earlier this week? The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration found that Monday, July 3rd, was the hottest day since records began. The average global temperature reached 17.18 degrees Celsius. This broke the previous record from August 2016, when global average temperatures were 16.92 degrees. Experts believe we'll see yet another record high soon with the worsening El Niño weather phenomenon. And South Korean automakers Hyundai and Kia on Thursday said they would repair electric vehicles that have lost power or seen their power reduced free of charge. The models eligible for this free repair service include Hyundai Ioniq 5 and 6, also the Kia EV6. Here in Korea, there's a total of 130,000 of these types of vehicles that can receive free of charge repair. Moving on, we're seeing more people travel about in time for summer, and Japan's travel agency conducted a survey on its consumers. It has found that the #1 place Japanese tourists want to visit is Seoul. Most people who wanted to visit were young Japanese women, specifically those in their 20s. Now we're going to take a closer look at the last story. Korea seems to be a popular destination for many Japanese tourists, and experts believe this is because Korea-Japan relations have improved over the past few years, and Hallyu's impact is booming in Japan. That's why we've seen the port city of Busan suddenly make it to the top 10 destinations Japanese want to visit this year. It ranked #7 this year, and Brooke, you've lived in Korea for a while now. What do you think is allowing a lot of these international tourists wanting to come to Korea?
Well, I do think one big draw is, of course, the Korean wave. So we're seeing K-dramas and K-pop all gain a lot of popularity. And so people really want to see, where did these amazing content, where did it come from? Where did it originate? So I think that's bringing a lot of people into the country, and it's wonderful to see.
They want to go to all these places that the dramas showed, try out the food that the actors are having.
Go on the streets where you've seen.
Exactly. Now, there are some areas that need some work. For any place, there's no perfect tourist attraction, right? So what would you think needs work in Korea in order for Korea to be bustling with more foreign tourists?
That's true. I mean, personally, I've lived here for a long time, so I don't have many complaints, but I will say, of course, we all know what it's like when you go to a tourist destination, say an amusement park, and you want something to eat, and then you discover that the tiniest little morsel is going to cost you an arm and a leg.
Right.
So I think maybe looking at the prices and making sure that they're very affordable, especially in this economy, so that way we can draw more tourists in to actually visit the country. I think that would be one thing we could do a little better.
And not only international tourists, a lot of people in Korea moving to like different parts of the country, they've been complaining that street vendors are selling food for ridiculous prices, and that's been causing a lot of complaints amongst tourists here in the country, right? Now, Seong, I would like to ask you this. Japan has also found that a lot of Koreans, especially millennials and Gen Z, would like to visit their country over the summer. Would you ever like to go to Japan?
Definitely. I mean, I've been to Japan a few times already, and it is always have been a popular destination for Korean tourists. We've actually seen in March this year almost 2 million visitors to Japan from Korea, and these numbers have been the highest since before pre-COVID times. So I mean, basically right now about 1/3 of all Japanese tourists you get inbound to Japan, all Koreans. So I mean, we are a neighboring country. The political situation does seem to be getting better as well.
It's really good to see.
One of the many millions of Koreans who went, actually.
Oh, you went quite recently. Osaka, was there something?
It was Osaka, and what was what was really interesting was that I was in Japan, right? But all I heard was Korean.
Exactly.
There were
and you know, following Osaka in as well, in 2030, Busan is going to have the next, possibly.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. So we might be able to see that. So I think that's why Busan made it to the top 10 list as well of tourists. And I think they have improved a lot making the cityscape a lot nicer, making it a lot more friendly for foreign visitors and tourists alike. I was there a few times this year already for the events related to the Busan World Expo. So we'll see how many tourists come to Korea this year.
Hopefully, because it ranked number 7 for where Japanese people want to go this year, it will become number 1 for more international tourists out there. And that was our news feed for this Friday. Let's now move into our main discussion topic. Speaking of Seoul becoming a hot tourist attraction, we're going to try something new from this Friday. For the next few weeks, every Friday, we're going to take you around Seoul and introduce some of the most popular places you can go to. And we're going to call our series Visit Seoul 2023. For our first episode in our Visit Seoul 2023 series, we've decided to let you guys know how you can easily go around the capital. South Korea is well known for its public transport, so we've prepared some main attractions in Seoul you can visit using the Seoul Metro. Now, Seong, why don't you first start us off by explaining how well managed our subway trains and subway lines are here in Korea?
Yeah, I mean, we might have seen it quite often, the shiny Seoul subway, metropolitan subway system. Since it began operation in 1974, the Seoul Metropolitan Subway consists of 23 rapid transit, light metro and commuter rails, spanning over 1,260 kilometers, whilst hosting around 3 billion riders every year. So Korea's public transport system has been hailed internationally as well. You might have seen it being praised as well, with its advanced subway cards even allowing free Wi-Fi and the often benchmarked automatic safety screening doors. The price of the Seoul subway is also on the lower side. So basic subway fare for travel within 10 kilometers is 1250 Korean won, which just amounts about $1. And 720, about 40 cents for teenagers. So it's very low as well. So within Seoul and the Incheon metropolis, as well as the satellite cities in Gyeonggi province, stretching out as far as Gangwon province, the 768 stations of Seoul subway covers every part of the gigantic city.
And whenever I go travel about, like, outside of Korea, I think South Korea's subway is the best.
Oh yeah,
It's incredible.
No, I mean, I used to live in Europe a lot of the times, and it's horrible, to be honest. You know, the carts are old, everything's so squeaky. Your phone signal just cuts off entirely as soon as you enter the station.
Of course, there's Wi-Fi everywhere here,
Yeah,
which is really
here
nice.
you get underground Wi-Fi, phone works perfectly. It's
AC.
amazing. AC, wow, yeah,
It's really nice.
Even in the winter,
Heating
there's
and air
heated seats.
I
conditioning,
know, for
exactly.
sure. And Brooke, you've lived in the States. Could you compare South Korea's subway system to the States and tell us what the advantages are here?
Well, I think the best thing about the Korean subway system is just how clean, safe, and efficient it is. Honestly, I've lived here for 7 years, and I've never once missed having a car. That's how good I think the system is here. You mentioned the safety doors. So those prevent accidents, and they also keep people from dropping things, which is a huge problem in the States. And also, the subway system is extremely intuitive. Even if you're a foreigner who doesn't speak Korean, they have lots of signage in different languages. You can use the machines in different languages. So even someone like me, I can't find my way out of a paper bag. I can navigate the subway system almost perfectly. I still make mistakes sometimes, but it's very, very easy to navigate.
And there's so many apps, too, that you can download, especially
It shows you
Seoul.
exactly where to go.
And it even shows you which subway train you should get on to be closer to the entrance.
Yes, they show you which car to get on, so you're right next to the stairs. It's
Also,
so
the
convenient.
times are written there. For instance, it'll be if you have to change lines, like 2 minutes, you have to run, stuff like that. And the subway is not only convenient, it's also very cheap, and it's near some of the hottest attractions in Seoul. And as I said earlier, we're going to recommend some places you can get to by subway, and we specifically chose 3 subway lines, and Seong is going to be the first one to take us through that.
Yeah, so I mean, the first one would be line 2 for me, the one I'll be introducing.
My favorite.
Okay.
Mine as well. I live quite close to line 2 as well. I mean, starting at City Hall, Dongdaemun History and Culture Park, it is a circular line that takes you to the most frequently visited locations in Seoul, not just for tourists, but also for the locals as well. So it goes to also most of the major universities. It spans around 60 kilometers through the heart of the city, covering Eulljiro to Seongsu in the east, Jamsil, where they have the sports complex, Olympic Park, as well as Lotte World and Lotte Tower, the tallest building in South Korea. Going through Gangnam, we have the office quarters of World Trade Center around Samsung, also Sunneung Yeoksam, major office hubs, and a law district in Seocho, where Korea's Supreme Court is located. So after Korea's top university, Seoul National University Station, on Line 2, we go back to the north of the river to Hongdae, Sinchon, Chungjeongno as well. So I mean, there's lots to cover. Most of the historic parts, as well as more recent, professional related, as well as entertainment, is all located on Line 4. Do you guys use it frequently?
I used to use Line 2 when I was a college student because I went to one of the colleges in the Line 2 area.
You went to Ewha?
I went to Ewha Women's University, and that's why I went. I went to Sinchon, Hongdae.
Right.
It's just so nice because it's so close by. What about you?
That was your hood.
It was my hood.
Mine too. So I lived in Hongdae and I also lived in Sinchon. That's the longest time I've ever lived in a place in Korea, is those two areas. So I'm very familiar with them. I particularly love Hongdae because of the busking street. So you can see lots of people performing in the busking circles, and it's just a really fun place to go on a night out with your friends.
Right, and as you mentioned, Xiong, if you ride the subway for Line 2, you can keep going and going.
Oh yeah. It's a circular line, so you can just sit on it, go through it.
If you fall asleep, you're fine. You'll just stay on the same one.
If you time it right, you'll wake up at your own station. So you've spent some time in Line 2. Is it bustling as you say it is? Do you have a big nightlife? Students go out and stuff in Hongdae?
There's huge nightlife because it's all for college students. The areas there are relatively cheap. There's a lot of nightclubs, bars, restaurants. But you would know better, right, Xiong? Which area would you take us to?
I would be. So, whereas on the hottest day on Earth, on this Monday, I had to go out and see what Line 2 actually
there you are.
To have a look at the different stations. So Hongdae, or Hongik University, which you can see on the clip, is a neighborhood known for its youthful ambience, with shops selling everything from clothing and cosmetics to living goods and books, as well as unique cafes and restaurants. The streets are also filled with buskers, as you mentioned, Brooke, and dance performances. There's a lot of hip-hop scene going on in Hongdae for Korea, making a walk here all very quite entertaining. Special streets such as Atelier Street, lined with private institutions, private academies, I think hagwons we call it, for art students preparing for Hongik University or different university entrance exams. Picasso Street and Club Street are also must-go places for anyone hoping to fully experience the Hongdae area.
And there you're taking a picture.
There I'm taking a picture. That's the sticker picked photo we have quite often.
And the nightlife, as you mentioned, it's bustling right there.
It's bustling. You see a lot of bars, clubs as well. I think there's more sort of clubs in Hongdae. It's more of a, I mean, you might have been to a few of those, I guess.
And the tarot cards.
Tarot cards, that's always good fun. I mean, those are everywhere in Korea. As you've seen earlier, different entertainments. I used to have, you can shoot the BB guns, target practice. You could also go karaoke.
And then we've gone to Seoul National University.
That is. So we are at Seoul National University, also on Line 2. Also, that is me. That's the high street of Seoul National University called Charosuke. So it's a high street filled with also bars and restaurants, as well as a lot of unique cafes. Korea is big with the cafe scene, and you have them everywhere. So Seoul National University around there is also quite entertaining. I think I've spent some time at SNU as well, so it's my
it's
quite
your
preferred.
hood.
I see what it is. I've been around there a lot.
I was impressed. Your hair held up very well in the heat.
The hottest day in the world.
It was so hot. It was incredible. You might be able to see my back being completely soaked.
Oh no!
As well now and then.
But that didn't stop you from going about.
I mean, Line 2's like that. It's also fantastic because you can get to most of university. If you're an undergraduate here, if you're coming here as an exchange student and things like that, I think you'd most likely be on Line 2 a lot of the times.
Yeah, and there are a lot of international students coming into Korea to attend these universities. So whenever I go to Hongdae or Sinchon area, I can meet a lot of foreign friends as well, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And Brooke, why don't you introduce the second subway line we'd like to tell our viewers to go to?
Sure. So I'm going to talk about Line 4.
Okay.
Now, I chose to introduce this line because as a foreigner, I think it's so important to learn more about the culture and the history of this beautiful country that I'm living in. And Line 4 provides many opportunities to do that. So you can go to the Seoul Grand Park, to Samgakji, Myeongdong, you have Icheon Station, Seoul Station, Dongdaemun History and Culture Park. There are just so many different places where you can have a lot of diverse cultural experiences. So I'm curious for you guys, have you been to any of these stops on Line 4?
Well, I've actually been to Seoul Station, but only because, as we've mentioned in the news feed, in order for me to go to Busan, I had to ride the KTX, the train
Yeah,
from
that's
Seoul
right.
Station
Yeah.
to Busan. What about you, Xiao?
I mean, I take the line 4 quite often, actually.
really?
Because it goes down to, you might not have mentioned, but Yisu
That's right.
as well. So, I mean, it's quite close to my neighborhood, so I'll sometimes take it up to the north. So you said the DDP is also on line 4?
That's correct.
DDP is fantastic. I've been to quite a few different events there. It's also a nice exhibition space, but architecturally fascinating as
amazing.
well. It's built by the late Iranian female architect, I think Zaha Hadid, and it's one of the most sort of landmarkish venue in South Korea, in Seoul as well.
I see. And Brooke, which of the Line 4 subway stations have captivated your attention? And I hear that your family actually visited
Oh,
Korea.
yeah, quite
So did you
recently.
take
They
them there?
did. They visited to celebrate my graduation. So as you can see, this is my family here. We have my
Oh,
dad in
let's say
front,
hi.
my brother in the back, and his wife, my beautiful sister-in-law, is on the right there. And we are in the subway on line 4 on our way to Icheon Station, which is very close to the National Museum of Korea. Now, as you can see, the architecture of this building is just stunning. And it's also quite large. It's a big building because it has to house 300,000 different artifacts. So it takes a long time to get through, but it's worth it. It also is home to this little guy who I could not resist getting a
Aw.
picture with. And then here we have Jasmine taking a little bit of a breather because, like I said, 300,000 artifacts,
Yeah.
a lot
So
to
much.
see. And my family was only here for a short period of time, so we were determined to see all of them in this one day. So we really went through every room and just enjoyed ourselves. I think the National Museum is one of the best places to go just to learn more about Korea and to really soak up that cultural experience. So we had just an amazing time. As you can see, it's just lovely inside and out. Now, the next station I want to talk about on line 4 is Seoul Station. Now, Seoul Station is a transportation hub. Like Grace was saying, you can take the KTX there. You can go pretty much anywhere in the country from Seoul Station. But if you want to just stay around the station itself, there are also many fun things to do. You have Seoul Square, you have Seosomun History Park, there's the Namdaemun Market, Sungnaemun Gate,
Yeah.
just so many different places you can look at. As you can see, there's artists, there's performances, a great place to take your kids, your friends, your family. And then lastly, we have this gorgeous building here. This is the Culture Station Seoul 284. It is actually 100 years old.
That's the original Seoul Station.
It is. It's
yeah.
the original one. So if you go in, you can see this really beautiful, ornate, vintage interior. And you can also see some performances and displays. So it's a wonderful place to go if you want kind of a glimpse of the
Definitely.
Korean past. Now, I went over 2 stations, but there's some more on line 4. There's Samgakji. I don't know if you guys
Oh,
have
yeah,
been. So my family also went there to see the War Memorial of
Yeah,
Korea.
yeah.
My dad and my brother are huge history buffs, so I knew that they would love it. And they just have so many amazing aircrafts outside,
Outside in the park,
weaponry.
yeah,
oh
yeah,
my
they've got some
gosh.
tanks laying
I've never
around,
seen something
yeah.
so up close like that. It was phenomenal. We also went to Namsan Tower, which is close to
That was
Samgakji.
great, yeah.
My brother and his wife, they put a lock on the bridge. It's kind of
Oh,
something you have
yeah,
to
yeah,
do.
yeah.
You have to do because you want to lock your love in there
Lock your
forever.
love
and
in.
ever.
And
Yeah.
actually,
Until they
I
bring a huge
oh
No, you don't want to.
and,
I actually have a nephew on the way now, so I'm hoping one day maybe he can come to Korea. They can
Fantastic.
show him the lock they
Oh,
put.
yeah.
It's going to be really hard to find though because
I
there's like
know.
thousands of
So
locks
There's
there.
hard to
so
find,
many,
yeah,
right?
So
Yeah.
many.
And then, of course, the last station, we've talked about the DDP. That is at the Dongdaemun History and Culture Park
Yeah.
Station. It stands for the Dongdaemun Design Plaza, but it also stands for Dream, Design, and Play.
Does it?
Yes, and you
Yeah.
can really see the
Inspirational.
playfulness in the architecture, right? It's a very interesting looking building, and you can see a lot of different performances there,
Right. Yeah.
conferences. It's just a cool place to go.
Did you know that DDP has no beams?
Oh, really?
That's right.
They built it without any sort of, stand. So it's spacious. It's maximized efficiency in its space.
Well,
It's
very
hopefully our
interesting.
viewers
Very
can go
interesting.
check that out.
Yes.
And I would now like to take the last line. It's line 6 on the Seoul Metro. And I think one word to sum up what's near the subway line could be hip.
or last but not the least.
Last but not least, there's so many cool streets, select shops, and bars at Mangwon, Gongdeok, Itaewon, and Shindang. There's a great tteokbokki place there. You should definitely go.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to take you guys through one station that I've been to on the hottest day in
On
the
the
world.
hottest
I was
day.
also out on the streets of Itaewon. Take a look at the screen. I have a video for you guys. I particularly loved going to Itaewon because there's so many things to look at. You can see the whole landscape of Seoul from cafes and restaurants with amazing terrace. There's me. I'm trying to show you guys the view of Seoul there.
So pretty.
There's also a lot of bars. You can have a taste of cuisines from around the world. And because there's a big foreign population in this area, there's a lot of international food ranging from halal, Thai, Vietnamese, or French, you name it. I personally love Mexican, but here, this is a cafe that I really love going.
I'm getting hungry.
Itaewon is known for cafes.
Yeah.
And you can see there, it used to have a really bustling night scene with a lot of clubs and bars. As I mentioned,
coming back, I think, though.
it is coming back a bit. As I mentioned, a lot of international food is there, so you can try out European, Mexican, or Thai, everything. On this day, I remember, I think I had Mexican food. Yep, there's me eating some burritos, tacos, and enchiladas.
Is that all for you?
No, I shared it with the people I was with. I shared it with the crew. But if you bring your foreign friends here and they're sick and tired of just eating Korean food, I think it'd be a great taste of the world
My
over
favorite
there.
Mexican place is also there as well,
Patos.
but not the actual that place.
But last October, this area did suffer the Itaewon Crush tragedy, so it's a big turn of events. But thousands of young adults came out to the narrow alleyways of Itaewon to party for Halloween, and a crush occurred in one of those alleyways. And at least 159 people were killed, and another 196 were injured, and 27 of those who died were foreign nationals. And there, I'm just taking you to the commemorative wall where people are leaving sticky notes, and they're writing letters to their loved ones and box full of presents. So the reason why I wanted to show you guys that, though, is even though you do go to all these tourist attractions in Seoul, there are things that we should remember. And Brooke, you mentioned before that you did bring your family to that part of Seoul as well.
I did. So my family wanted to go there because, you know, you hear about these things in the news, but you really can't get a good idea of what actually happened and how frightening it was unless you go to the alley itself and you see how narrow it was. And for my family, it was especially unsettling because I've been to that Halloween party every single year except for that year. So it kind of was a good reminder to just hug your loved ones a little bit tighter. And I do think that it is important to remember these parts of history so that they don't happen again.
Right, and I think that's a part of going around different parts of the world. You not only see the flashy and extravagant parts of the country.
You look at the history behind it.
You look at the history, what's happening on a daily basis. And today we tried to take you around Seoul as much as possible by showing you the options you can go through via subway. Hopefully it helped, right?
Yeah, definitely helped big time. And I think I think we might be ending on such a low, sad note. I was there as a journalist covering the story. But, you know, Itaewon's not like Itaewon died out because of this incident. And it shouldn't be like that. You know, if there's a tragedy that happens, then it should be, we'll have to look into the next chapter. We've got to look into the next story. People got to come more, make the place a bit more vibrant.
We want to uplift the business owners there as well.
Exactly. Make the community feel better and the environment a bit more friendly for tourism.
Right, and in order for us to do that, hopefully our Visit Seoul 2023 series can kick that off. And we'll be here every day from 9:30 to 10 a.m. Korea time, bringing you more topics young people are talking about. Special thanks to Kim Xiang.
My pleasure, Ian.
And Brooke Prince.
Thank you very much.
And thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you next week. We are
News Generation.